Hello and welcome back, League of Inches family. I've got the crew once again, myself, Jez, and Adam. Once again, we're doing a team's season preview. Tonight we have the Warriors, the Sydney Roosters, the Canberra Raiders, the West Tigers, and the Gold Coast Titans. So I've got a bit of a different background. I'm moving some stuff around the house this week, and it has been a pain in the absolute ass, and this isn't the full setup, so hopefully everything sounds good still. It's coming across nicely. But yeah, a bit of a change up for mine. Boys, how's your week been? Adam, let's start with you. I know you're on the bandwagon at the moment, so yeah,
Please,
if you're not watching the video, you won't know what we're talking about, but let the viewers know. Let our
please.
lovely
I have
podcast
been
listeners know.
a 49ers fan for about 10 years now, Jeremy. 10 years?
Whenever Hayne went there.
Yeah, 2014. I stuck with him. He was only there for 1 year. Barely played, and I stuck with him. I stuck well because I always followed the NFL before that, but never really had a team. I jumped on. I went to a 49 game, and I've stayed loyal, and I watch most games. The convenience of working from home. So look, obviously one staying off to the NFC Championship game next Monday, I believe at 10:30 a.m. Australian time. So one more game to go than the Super Bowl. So I look forward to that. Knocked out Jeremy's Green Bay Packers today, so that's always a fantastic result for all those, So I just need Parramatta to knock out Newcastle sometime throughout the year, and I've got it all over him.
So basically what you're saying is Adam's bosses out there, whenever footy's on, he doesn't work. So
No. I have got a 38.5 curved screen monitor. Jeremy Sandy can talk about how big it is. It's huge. And one of the main things is
his monitor. I've seen his monitor.
Oh, yeah, he's my monitor. Yeah, my monitor is huge. And you can split it into three. So what I can do is I can have two work screens. I can split the third screen into a TV to watch. So it's great. You can put whatever you want on, and away you go, working and watching at the same time.
Yes, look, I'd love to keep talking about what you've seen of Adams, but I don't want to continue on that conversation too much while we're still a PG program with the odd swear word. I think we're getting away with that at the moment. So let's keep it there. Your story last week about the zoo and the lions went off. The viewers want to know more about your life and what you get up to. So have you got another story for us this week?
Apart from it being incredibly hot, hit about 40 degrees today. So no, I don't have any more animals having sex stories, sadly. I need to get to more zoos apparently. So no, pretty boring this week, pretty stock standard. So I'll have to keep it up soon.
Sorry to hang on a second. We won't go there, but sorry to all those 10 sickos that messaged the page about wanting to know a bit more about that story, that the animal porn. So we can't help you this week, but Jez is promising to deliver some stories in the weeks to come. I love off-season.
True Warner, there will definitely be more to come. Don't worry. Oh, sorry.
Look, we are a rugby league. Oh, we are a rugby league podcast. So let's get into what we're promising the viewers out there while they're clicking and listening. New Zealand Warriors are first up. Let me get the slideshow up. Here we go. So once again, I'll go through the first one, the gains and the losses here. Again, thanks to the producer, Jez, who, by the looks of it, hasn't turned out exactly how he wanted it to turn out once again.
Why did it do that?
Are you happy with this one, Jez, this week?
No, look what this is.
Losses.
What? Anyway,
so much work, guys. He was so happy with this. Behind the scenes, let's peel it back. I think it was this morning. He goes, I tried to change how we looked at some of the teams and the mix-up of it and for weeks to come, and quickly just shut it down. Nope, slides are done. I've already done everything. I've worked hard in the school holidays. It's all good, but here we go, the final product, and we're talking about the gains and losses for the New Zealand Warriors. So Kurt Capewell obviously has come over recently from the Broncos. Chanel Harris-Tavita's back from his basically a year away on Kentucky, so I'm pretty sure he went on and needed to just get away from the game, so he got to enjoy Europe and the like. I think that was that. Am I right there? He did say he just wanted to get away and travel the world and stuff.
Said he wanted a year away from the game, I believe.
Yeah, but then he ended up re-signing. So he wanted to step away, but then went, nah, I'm coming back.
He's back. Obviously, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck from rugby, huge. The losses: Josh Curran to the Bulldogs, Bailey Sironen.
Aronson?
Hey, this is a Bailey Sironen to Catlins.
Aronson?
Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang on. Jez, the producer, we're having an off chat about this one, mate. Viliami Vailea to the Cowboys. Braden Williami retired. I think he was at Para at one stage, so
he's
been going a lot longer than I thought he was going to go.
And it's
So
there
we go
as well. Just putting that out there. I'll having the pronunciations.
What do we think of the recruitment? What do we think of the recruitment there? And producer, you can go first and just protect your work of art, obviously.
Oh no, there's no defending that. That's I think I made these after putting my son down for a nap and thought I'll try and knock out a couple of these. So there's no excuses here. But again, what do you want from me? I'm on school holidays. Leave me alone. Kurt Capewell, nice signing, very nice signing. Didn't actually see that coming. So when all the talk and the chat was coming around, I thought it was just throwaway comments. But they got him there, and that's huge. Chanel Harris Tavita, I think he's put down as a halfback, isn't he? So I don't know how much game time he'll actually get. There's a couple of people there in the halves that are doing quite well. And Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I think everyone's really excited to have him back from rugby. We all knew that experiment wasn't going to last forever. I think he even said that he was going to come back. So it's good to see Roger back with the Warriors to, again, really push that finals really late into the season. And I'd love to see them go one better.
Yep, I agree. Adam, thoughts?
Yeah, look, Kurt Capewell's obviously a pretty big signing. Getting on, he's starting to move around a few clubs, but obviously that experience of the broken Oscars last year where he played his football.
I don't know what's happened here.
Jeremy is a teacher, by the way, guys. So I just want to put that out there.
You know what I'm blaming? I'm blaming the magic keyboard. It's too little.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But look, obviously the plus of the Warriors is Chanel Harris Tavita and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck have had a couple of years away from playing sport. So obviously Chanel had a year off for his Kentucky, and Roger was a winger in rugby union, and wingers in rugby union don't touch the ball. So they've had a couple of years off, and they'll be fresh and ready to go. Look, Roger, back. Yeah, they believe Roger's going to play in the centres or on the wing. He's not going to try and take that fullback spot, is the rumour. We'll see how that goes. I think he'll end up at fullback by the time the year's done. And Chanel, look, obviously he was the 5'8" when he left. Luke Medcalf obviously stepped in last year to play 5'8". So I think Chanel's probably going to have to bide his time and earn his way back into the team because Medcalf was – well, Jeremy had him in his team in the season, didn't he, at the back end of the year?
Yeah, I really rated him. He just played his role and did it really well.
I mean, so that's all he has to do. Like, I guess the biggest thing for Chanel is coming back. And we all know how good Sean Johnson was last year, who could be his last year this year. It's if Sean can do it again and stay injury-free, obviously getting on in his career as well. So Chanel's a pretty good handy backup to have there. Obviously can play 5'8" halfback and slide in there to give Sean a rest maybe off the bench at the back end of games if they're going to play him as like a 14 or, if Sean goes down, gets injured or just can't produce that form. I'm not saying they're going to drop him, but obviously having Chanel there is saying for the future as well. He's still very young, I believe, about 24, 25. So we're going to run through the losses or start with the losses?
Yeah, I've already run through the losses. You can give me your opinion.
Yeah, I know you ran through them, but I meant, opinion. So, look, Curran, as we touched on, at the Bulldogs, and it's a good signing for the Bulldogs, but not a bad loss for the Warriors, as we touched on last week. He's pretty prone to a head knock and a suspension, so not going to lose it too much. They've got quite a few good, solid second rowers. Sorensen, same thing, in and out, kind of all around there in first grade and reserve grade. I don't even know who the other bloke is. I'm not even going to say his name. I know you know him, Joel, so I'm not even going to bother. And Willie Army, like I said, kind of around that reserve grade, come in a bit last year. He's been around quite a while, and they're playing down the south coast now. So they all say retired, but they're still happy to play around and get $1,000 a game on the local team before they fully retire.
What's the local team up here that has? Is it the pub team that's just paying people absolute overs?
Oh, Dora Creek.
Other teams are forfeiting against them because they don't want to play them.
Dora Creek, yeah, but Dora Creek have actually
that's right.
They won the grand close to you. They won the grand final in the Newcastle Community Comp last year. With blokes like Penny Terapo and that there as well. But they're in the Central Coast comp this year. So they've stepped up the Central Coast comp. They'll go down there and win that. Their blokes on $1,500 a game.
Look out. We might have to preview the Central Coast comp this year. Have our on the grounds reporters.
I just previewed it for you. So. That's it. Dora Creek win.
Yeah.
But
Dora Creek win.
Newcastle comp's obviously
the
Warangaroos and the Entrance Tigers are in the Newcastle comp as well. They still have teams in Central Coast comp, but they're in the Newcastle comp, which is obviously a lot stronger. The Entrants have signed Blake Austin, Dave Feeder. I believe they've signed Wade Graham, hasn't been announced yet as well. Don't know how they're going to get the points under there. So they've signed quite well, but coming against a Maitland team who's won the last 3 comps in a row. So it'd be very interesting.
Well, we digress, but
we digress.
they'd be a good team in the NRL. So, what about our ratings here for the recruitment and retention? Obviously, I think we've decided to put the retention as well. We've got that thanks to Zero Tackle, the visuals down below for those watching on YouTube. Once again, thank you for all your support. Follows are going drastic skywards, really. So make sure you do hit the subscribe button when you do watch the video. I'll kick us off. I really do think Kurt Capewell is a really nice signing. It adds that a bit more experience as well to the side, which I really don't. I don't mind the Warriors' chance at all. We'll talk about it this year a bit more in depth in a minute. But honestly, I've got to give this a 9 out of 10. I really like this recruitment for the Warriors, and they've let go. Look, I think Curran is a bit of a loss, but I think that it does get overcome by the arrival of Capewell there. So I'm going a 9 out of 10, boys.
Yep, it's right up there, especially with the last. Well, actually, all 3 of those gains are really big gains, and in some really nice positions as well. Just having a look at the re-sign and off contract. So we spoke about Sean Johnson. This is probably his last season, but then you've got Luke Metcalf, who is off contract at the end of the year. So he has a really big season coming up, and he really needs to hold on to that position and not let Chanel Harris-Tavita back in the side, because he might find himself out of the team and then out of a contract as well. So big season for him coming up. I am going to give it an 8.5 for those signings, just because Josh Curran is a pretty big loss. We spoke about that he injury prone and suspension prone, but he was impactful when he came on. So yeah, 8.5.
I like that. Ads?
I'm giving him a 10. I reckon it's the best gains and losses of any team going in this year. I said Capewell, obviously coming off that good season last year with Brisbane. I know he's 31. It was an odd move, not really something we saw at Room, but we didn't see it coming. The fact he was leaving Brisbane. The fact he's gone over there playing good footy. Chanel Harris-Tavita was a great 5'8", obviously, before he left, and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for now what he could offer, and the players they've lost really nothing. But the reason I'm giving it such a 10 out of 10 is, like Jeremy said, you look at their re-sign and their off-contract list. They're a team that's got it all good. Like, they've got it right. They've got their balance right. Like Jeremy said, you've obviously got Luke Metcalf, Chanel coming back. But if Sean Johnson is to retire, it's a pretty easy thing to re-sign Luke Metcalf for whatever money he wants if he does have a good season. The only other big player they've got coming off contract, and look, I'll say I don't know all of these young players coming through, but is Jazz Tabunga. And Jazz will be getting on a bit. He's been around quite a while as well, but he seems like one of those blokes that is just happy to be there, happy to be at the Warriors. Doesn't really look like he wants to leave. So I can't imagine he's going to go anywhere else for money if the contract is right there for him. So, yeah, look, I'll give him a 10. It's hard to say a team's perfect because you don't know what the year could bring in, what injuries could bring in. You can say, look, they could have brought something in, but it's what they've let go and what they've brought in. It's as close as you can get.
What about the name there off contract? Patrick Moimoy. Is that the good old Fui Moimoy's son or something?
No. I didn't even know who he was.
It just brings
no relation?
back some happy flashbacks.
I'm going to Google him.
There's not many Moimoys out there. There has to be. It has to be a relation somehow.
I'll find out for you. I'll just message
as you find that out. Yeah, just send Philly a message while you get that message sorted out. And Jez, you can talk to us about the positives for this season coming up for the Warriors.
Well, it's just the momentum from last year. I think as a fan,
baby.
Yeah, up the wires. As a fan of last year, even though they pumped the Knights in that final, I was still not that bummed that they had such a fantastic year. And I honestly think they can ride that momentum with these additional signings. I think they can go that one step further And I would not be surprised. I know it's so early to say, and everybody does this, but I would not be surprised if we see them there in the grand final at the end of the year. They are going to have a massive year, and I'm really just pumped to see what the Warriors can produce. So it's just all about momentum. And Adam spoke about the balance of the team, and I think they have the balance really right. And that's going to project them further in this competition. Fingers crossed there's no injuries or suspensions. All teams have to come across that adversity, but I think they have the depth there to cover most of those positions if there is something. So it's looking good for the Warriors. Plus, they had a really good home strip. Like, we all liked their jersey.
All I can find on
the collar on that thing.
All I can find on Patrick Moy is he's only 19. So obviously, I think he'd be re-signed. He's made his debut in New South Wales Cup at the back end of last year. He's 103 kilos, 185 centimetre, 19-year-old centre.
Wow.
So if he is a relation to Philly and the Warriors decide to get rid of him, BA, just watch out that one. I know you're a big listener of the podcast. See what we can do, because Brian Smith made one of the greatest signings in history when Tuifuri Moimoi was shown the door from South Sydney.
Yeah, I listened to the. I didn't listen. I looked up the stats today of the podcast actually, and it was funny. Number one listener was based in Kellyville, so I think that's actually BA just sitting in his office before training and after training, just listening to us and our thoughts, obviously.
Oh no, I said he'd be the first coach sacked for 2024. Oops,
you're in the naughty corner nowadays.
Well, I can't spell, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree with the positives. I've actually listened to a few people recently, and there's not many people rapping the Warriors, and they reckon that they'll be the sliders of the top four. I can't see it. If anything, I see the Warriors getting stronger. Like, I actually think this side can really, really give this competition a shake this year. Like, I look at it, and I know we'll go into our concerns next, but to basically segue into it, I can't really see our concern. Like, I know there's obviously the coach. Adams obviously has his second year at the job there for the Warriors, and we're going to be able to see what he's got to do there. But for me, that's really all, because the depth just improved a lot with these signings. Like, as we see the losses, that doesn't really get impacted by the gains. The only probably concern for mine is AFB and how his head will be for throughout this year for Noah Blake, if there's going to be murmurs and he wants to get released early to go back to be a family in Sydney or whatever. But apart from that, I can't see much, and I just think it's upwards for the Warriors in 2024. Adam?
Yeah, I've got them finishing in the top four again. They're always one of those hard teams to judge, because when you expect something from the Warriors, they seem to disappoint. And you throw me off spot. I was still trying to find out if Patrick Moimoi was a relation. I look at the size of this bloke, and he's got to be. He's got to be. But look, I don't see him sliding at all. But I guess a lot of it comes down to their draw, which I haven't really had a good look at. But the main thing for the Warriors is, and it's what they did well last year, they need to come to Australia and win their games. There's no point, obviously having the form there in New Zealand and being so destructive over there and being able to take them down, making a place where teams don't want to travel and coming over to Australia. You still need to win at least half your away games, obviously, finishing that top four. And that's where they need to be, because if they can't do it during the regular season and they get to obviously the final season, they finish 5th to 8, it means they've only got one home game. And the biggest advantage for the Warriors last year was that game back in New Zealand against Newcastle. Because if that game was played in Sydney or some reason, obviously closer to Newcastle, I can guarantee it would have been a different result. They got on the back of the momentum that was built over there. People jumped off that shit sport called rugby union and jumped on the Warriors there, and it was huge over there. And that's honestly the truth. The World Cup kind of snuck up on people in New Zealand. It was massive how you didn't hear about it over there. It was just everyone up the wires. Like, we all jumped on the bandwagon, which I'm still denying. I did not do that. But look, that's their biggest thing. They need to obviously find that consistency and be able to do it. My biggest concern for them is if someone
up the wires.
Yeah, that's not me.
That is Adam.
That's not me. No, it's voiceover. My voice sounds much clearer than that. So yeah, if someone like Sean Johnson does go down, I think we can kind of rule him out for the season. If he went down early, that's my biggest concern.
I don't know about that.
Okay, well, who's going to?
I know Chanel Harris-Tavita will. He'll
never
step
been
up.
a sparky player. He's had the chances to do that before when he was there without Sean Johnson. He wasn't doing it. Where'd they come?
Yeah, but I just think it's stronger all around the park this time. So I know
Are you
Sean
saying-
Johnson was Sean
are you
Johnson
saying-
last year.
Are you saying his time on Kentucky and plowing his way through Europe has matured him as a player?
Allegedly.
you're saying?
And if there's any lawyers out there, his name's Adam. Please send him a message. Don't come at the page for the strong allegations that are made each and every week at the moment. You've come out. You need to. I think you need to have another break for a few weeks. I honestly just think they've got enough there to. If like Johnson was phenomenal, do not get me wrong, and he needs to be up there and playing that similar form this year for the Warriors but I wouldn't write him off. If he did have an early injury, I wouldn't write the Warriors off completely. I'd say, yes, it's going to be harder for him, but I wouldn't say completely. Like the addition of RTS, Capewell for experience is huge. Harris-Tavita, he's been there, done it before. So he's had a year off to clear his head, clear some other stuff. And
just for the record, for those
get
lawyers,
himself right.
For those lawyers, I was talking about the cold weather. I believe he did operate a plough business over there. His name was Mr. Plough. That's his name. His name again is Mr. Plough. So that's what I meant. I don't know where you were going with it, but he's allowed to work when he's off from the NRL. That's what he was doing, is helping people with their snow.
Jazz, what do you got for us? So we can try and steer us back, please.
I can't say much more than what you two have said, especially around the Mr. Plough stuff. But I have found a photo of Patrick Moy.
Yeah, he's huge.
So I'll show you how big this dude is. Let's get this up here. Look at this guy.
There you go. This is it.
Look how big he is.
He's a big boy.
That's Moy's son. That has to be Moy. That has to be Phil's son.
Look at the size comparison.
That's
oh
not
my
him.
goodness.
Mate,
that's not Patrick.
Yes, it is.
No, this is Patrick.
Oh dear.
Oh, for those YouTube viewers, Adam's just shown us Shane Shackleton at his absolute best back in the day. Honestly, I'd say that was arguably one of the best segments. And guys, I've got Shane Shackleton coming on next week, so can't wait to chat all things footy with Shane Shackleton. What's that? Oh, he's just cancelled. Let's rate the finishing position in our brackets for the Warriors. I've got them first to fourth. I think they're right up there again this year. Yes.
Wonderful. Yep, wonderful.
Yeah, and I think Adam, you've already given us a sneak peek. Yep. There we go.
Wonderful.
Next team up, the Sydney City Roosters. The producers had a heart attack. The S's again, guys. But if you're a podcast listener, it's probably doing you a good thing at the moment. You don't want to be a YouTube listener or watcher for this episode because it's probably giving you a bloody aneurysm watching this.
Even me one, and I made them.
Nah. Look, Jez, you can come back a little bit by going through the gains and losses in the best way possible.
Oh, I was trying to edit the slides. Well, gains. We've got Spencer Leniu coming from the Panthers. That's quite a nice signing. Lewis Murphy from Wakefield coming in from the Super League. That's always fun rather than them going. Ethan Roberts.
So hang on. Can you just tell us a little bit about Lewis Murphy and his career so far?
Yeah, well, he played at Wakefield. And now we've got Ethan Roberts. Blake Steep, Xavier Varr, Alex Young, and I don't know this last bloke. Never heard of him.
I believe he's Alex Young's brother.
Yeah, I think so. Alex Young from Newcastle. Everyone who has played football up here will know who he is. No, Dom Young, massive gain for the Roosters. Just looking at their back line, oh my goodness. They've done it again. Their losses, do we want to go through the losses or we want to talk about the gains?
Yes.
Well, we'll go through the losses. They've got Corey Allen to the Dragons, for those who are watching on YouTube. The Dragons, Fletcher Baker, has gone to the Broncos. Thomas Deacon to Huddersfield. He's gone to the Super League. Eli L. Zakahim. I've murdered that one. Castleford. Oh, it's THT. THT. Remember this guy from last week? He went to the Sharks. Drew Hutchison to the Bulldogs. Uate? That's how I would pronounce that. Karawalavua. He's been released, and I think it's because of his last name. Matthew Lodge, good old Lodgy, really done the rounds. He's off to the Sea Eagles. Paul Momoroni has gone to Leeds. Jackson Paulo to the Sea Eagles, and Jake Turpin to the Bulldogs. So quite a big in and out. So the door is definitely swinging at the Sydney City Roosters.
Oh, goodness. I just need to take a second. I love you doing these.
I got that one. I got that one, Jerry.
Oh, Adam, you can go first. Just give us your thoughts about the gains and losses to the Roosters.
Yeah, look, obviously, Spencer Leonard is a massive signing. The forward pack, obviously, Jared Brewer has grazers. He's getting on a bit. He probably look at that bench spot now with Spencer starting there with, what's Frankenstein's name again? Jeez, it's been a long off season. I can't even remember Frankenstein's name.
Oh,
Lindsay Collins.
Yeah.
Lindsay Collins.
Lindsay Collins.
Having Lindsay Collins and Spencer Manu obviously starting is going to be massive for the Roosters. Lewis Murphy, he's only young. He's a winger from Wakefield. As you know, I follow the Super League quite a bit. I guess my biggest concern for players coming over from the Super League is half of them don't hack it and do their time and make it. He's obviously going to have Dominic Young and Tupou ahead of him, so he needs to bide his time and learn the game before he gets his crack and his opportunity. Ethan Roberts, no idea who he is. Blake Steep, no idea who he is. Xavier Bay, no idea who he is. And Alex Young, no idea who they are. And maybe they're split be players. Obviously, Jeremy couldn't find information. Maybe players just promoted from their lower grades. I believe they're called Roosters Juniors. It's a very rare thing, but they do have some. And obviously, Dominic Young coming over from the Knights, who on his day can be one of the best wingers. On his off day, which we saw after he signed this contract, he can find himself back in reserve grade. I was obviously playing some pretty consistent football for Newcastle at the back end of the year, but halfway through the year, I thought it was a good thing the Knights let him go. But look, huge gains. Obviously, the losses, I know we'll probably talk about the losses soon anyway, but it just shows that the Roosters actually do have a salary cap, because if you look at what they've brought in two big-name signings, but they've let go of quite a bit of experience there as well when you look at like the Drew Hutchinsons and Turpin. I know Turpin letting get his opportunity there before. I know they're not a massive money to add all those players up. And obviously the benefits of the third-party deals they would have got would be huge for the Roosters to bring those other players.
Yep, no, I agree. It's for once they're probably not the club with the microscope on them, but then you look at their lineup as I've done recently, and even the players that don't make it, the starting of this year round one side is going to be eye-opening, and some of the players they're going to have turn up in their New South Wales Cup side is quite scary. Like Jez mentioned, the back line, there's going to be at least one big name that misses out in a spot for that. But then I'll also look at the back row, the forward pack. It's ridiculous that there's going to be looking like the likes of someone like maybe Crichton or someone won't be having a spot on this side. So, or in this side, it's pretty sensational to be honest. So, I'm really looking forward to the Roosters this year. And I think the losses, again, like they've been really smart with their recruitment as well. The Roosters, like they obviously needed probably that bit more spark in the back line. There was a lot of injuries, I think, last year, and now everyone's full strength. It doesn't look like it was probably as important as it is, but they obviously need to cover Suaalii next year as well. So that's where Dom Young comes into play. They needed to get him now, otherwise miss out on him. And Lenu's been crying out for that starting spot. So if they can get that happening, really looking forward to seeing what he has in the starting spot. Jez, after your time to relax after some of those pronunciations, do you have anything further to add?
Just on that back line. And we're forgetting about Connor Watson. I'm surprised like they re-signed him to 2025 after he blew his knee out. Now he is someone that I am really excited to see come back, but I can't see him getting into the team. I don't know where he's going to fit. Is he going to play that 14? Is he going to play hooker? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. That back line, though, I'm just looking at the Roosters team. Tupou Young, Tedesco, Manu, Suaalii, and then you got Keary Walker-Smith. Like all these guys that are
Smith.
in some really good form. And
Brendan.
you're right. How are they all going to fit into that team? You're going to have a bumper New South Wales Cup team for the Roosters as well. And hopefully that sparks them to really fight for their positions. And we see the ones that really deserve it to be in there. And I don't know, it could be a really big year for the Roosters as well, depending on injury.
Yeah, let's rate the recruitment. Again, I'm going a 9. I really like some of the additions. Adam?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9. Look, I've only got the 2 players. Actually, I'm going to give it an 8.5. I've never let it go a lot of experience, and I know obviously they're strong on paper instead of getting some players drop out, but some of these young players come through, you don't quite know what to expect from the fact they're promoted by the looks of it, 1, 2, 3, 4 players to their top 30. Obviously not knowing what they achieved last year, but I know you've got to have your depth there, but come Origin time and come injuries, they could be relying on some of those players. So some of the experience they'll let go, I'll give them an 8.5.
Yes.
Yep. I've got a 9. Some really good signings there.
Yeah, positives. I think we've spoken about a few already. I think depth this year is normally one of Roosters' sort of weaknesses. I think this year it's probably a strength for them. They've got crazy amount of depth pretty much in every position covered to start this year. So it's a pretty scary feeling, especially considering last year their biggest downfall was so many injuries and suspensions, especially early on to the side, and just sort of that's play catch-up footy and their best footy a lot earlier than they probably would have planned to do. You know, they like to start slow and then build into the season, but they had to get the ball rolling a bit earlier or sooner than they would have liked. So that's my one. Anyone else got some more positives?
Not really. I hate them. Can I give you the negatives? No. I'm going to give you their biggest concern, and my biggest concern for the Roosters and where their season can derail is head knocks. It's as simple as that. The old HIA could really screw over their season. You've got Tedesco, who still doesn't know how to pass the ball at whatever age he is and stand up at the same time. You've got Luke Keary, who's probably one major head knock away from retirement, medical retirement. And you've got Victor Radley in the same boat. They've all had a lot of head knocks, and you've seen how big that can be and how quickly that can change a game. And in those physical games, those must-win games where, you know, you want them to be firing, you need to make sure you keep those players on the field. And I guess history kind of proves that it's a big chance of not happening. So that could be the biggest downfall for the Roosters this year.
Mine's in a similar sort of vein around the head space, but it's how they lose their head. So the tempers get the better of most of these Roosters players, and they give away those silly penalties. They give away just a lot of field position through that, and then on the back end of that is the suspensions. So you've got guys that are quite hot-headed, and if they can't control that, they're going to spend more time off the field, and they're going to lose more games because of it. Victor Radley is one that just loses his head for absolutely no reason. He might get picked on a little bit by the referees for it, but him, Jared Weir-Hargraves, like those guys, they can let their tempers get the better of them. And that kind of filtered through the forward pack a little bit as well with Crichton, and I think Collins was the only one that didn't fall sucker to the rage. So if they can harness that, if they can control that, they could be really, really good. But I think that's a massive downfall for the Roosters, especially last year when they had the injuries, when they had the people out. They were just giving away really silly penalties because they were getting just too caught up in that anger that was within it. So,
yeah, no, I do agree with that, and I think another one you can including that is probably Brendan Smith to a certain extent. Sort of seen the best and worst of him in patches last year. I felt like for Brendan Smith, I think we're going to see the best of him this year. I think towards the back end of last year, we started to see some of his better footy. He obviously had a pretty disrupted year last year. A lot of rumours around about him as well, which came with the territory of moving into Sydney, unfortunately. But we're not too sure what to believe when all that sort of stuff came out. But looking forward to seeing him. The Roosters need him to be at his best. If they're to win this competition or go close to it, they need a dominant hooker to do what he does best, really. So,
I think one thing we're kind of forgetting about Brendan last season, not only the pressure that come with it and all this disposable income he had of his, living in the Sydney lifestyle adapt to as well. But he was conditioned at Melbourne to be half a hooker, half a front rower, half a lock. And I know that's 3 halves, so I'll say a third of it, whatever. But I kind of chucked in the lock one last minute. But his body wasn't conditioned to what the Roosters wanted him to do last year, which was to play big minutes at 9. So if they are going to expect him to play the big minutes at 9, their big focus on conditioning in the off-season, obviously we're in pre-season now, we're only 4 weeks away from trials, 3.5 weeks, is he needs to be adapted to playing 80 minutes if that's what they want. So we don't know how they're going to use Connor Watson because, the expectation of what they had him last year was a bit tough on Brendan as well.
I reckon they'll want 60 minutes out of him. I reckon what we'll end up seeing, I think we'll see Connor Watson play about 20 minutes at 9 and be that sort of spark off the bench if it's needed. I reckon you're right there about. I feel like they'll stop with this whole putting Brandon Smith into the forwards. They don't need it this year. Their forward pack is ridiculous as it is. They don't need extra forwards. Like if they were depleted, I could understand it, but full strength at the start of the season, especially, he just needs to focus on the 9 position and that's it.
I agree.
What's our finishing position, Jez? You can start us off with this one. What's the bracket?
5th to 8th, around that back end. I reckon they're going to sneak in.
Adam?
I've got him 5th to 8, but I'll also say I've got a big chance of winning the comp if they can put it all together. I had him a couple of years ago as my expectation to win the comp, and even last year. But they just haven't found that balance with the players there. The only reason I've got him 5th to 8th and not 1st to 4th is because, like I stated earlier, I think they could lose some of those close games due to the head knocks, and as Jeremy said, they're losing their head. So, but they could be one of the first teams, obviously, to win the comp outside the top 4. I'm predicting that as a bold statement.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, hang on. We might have to get some of those bold statements in a few weeks. I've got them 1st to 4th, and right now, if I had to give someone my premiers, I'd be saying the Sydney Roosters. So I am very, very high on the Roosters' chances this year. Next team, not as exciting, I feel like, this year, but there is some talking points here. The Canberra Raiders, and it looks really clear. This one's a really good one, Jez. Well done, producer.
The S's are
again.
From the
S's are going to kill you. The S's are going to kill you, but the rest of it is really nicely done. So, real credit to the YouTube viewers. You should come back now. It's looking really good again. Adam, can you please go through your favourite coaches' gains and losses?
All right.
Yeah,
Zach
that'd
Hosking.
be good as well, mate.
I'm trying. Zach Hosking from Penrith. Simi Sasagi from the Knights.
Sasagi.
Morgan Smithers from Wigham. And KO Weeks from the Seagulls. The losses, Jared Croker to retirement. Matt Crawley off to the Super League with Leeds. Great signing for the Leeds Rhinos. Brad Schneider to the Penrith. Harley Smith-Shields to the Titans. That one still annoys me. Semi Valemi. Is that his name?
Valemi.
I know. I just rolled off the tongue perfect. Semi Valemi. Semi Valemi to the Cowboys. And Jack Byton to the Rabbitohs. Yeah. What? What's wrong with that last one? I got it, nailed it.
Yeah, no, you did a really good job with this. I think you should do these to the rest of the ones we have to do throughout the next couple of weeks. Look, there's no doubt about it.
Signings in there, I know they're only some of them are very short contracts, but there's a couple of good re-signings. They've put in Corey Hallsborough to 2027.
Big.
So that's nice.
A big one. Sebastian Chris is high up on Ricky's list, so they've extended him for quite some time as well. Hudson Young as well is very, very handy. He's through all 3 of those players are through to 2027. I think this will be Rapana's last year. I think he's actually come out and said that already as well. So a swan song, see if he can make. They've got some good young players this year coming through the Raiders, which obviously don't appear up on the gains and losses list, but there is some good young talent coming through, even though I do, and I'll get into it, I think it'll be a tough year for the Raiders. Zach Hosking is a really good signing. I really like that signing for the Raiders. I think that, but when you look at signings, I look at how they fit into a team, and I think Zach Hosking will fit into this side more so next year. But again, they needed to get him this year because I think off contract this year is Whitehead. I don't think he'll get extended. I think he'll end up going back over to Super League, and obviously maybe a bit of homesickness, etc. So they look to move him back home, and straight away Hosking comes straight into that starting side. I don't know much about Sasagi, so Jez could say a bit more about him if he wants to. But Kyo Weeks will have the starting 6 spot to start the year, and basically can cement that if it's basically his jersey to lose, in other words. So he could be a good signing. I don't know. There was always talk with him at Manly, and every time Turbo got injured, they always used to just put someone else at fullback instead of him when it just seemed like an easy, straight swap. So maybe there's something behind the scenes that none of us know about why he wasn't getting starts when he should have at Manly. But if he's as good as what the talk is, he'll be a decent option at 5'8", but obviously no Jack White.
He's a fullback.
Yeah.
Like
Simi Sasagi, he will play a role. Like he won't let you down. He wasn't someone that was breaking the door down, but he also, when he got his chance, he didn't really miss many tackles. He can play a pretty good role. So whether or not it's a massive signing for the Raiders, but it might just be game time for him, so he can actually prove that he is a first grader.
They obviously didn't want someone who was going to break the door down. They would have chased Matt Lodge, but look, their gains. Zach Hoskins. I know Zach play locally and stuff.
I love the fact that the League of Inches family is extending rapidly at the moment. Our growth is phenomenal, and I thank everyone for it. You have seeming to do whatever you can the last few weeks to get us shut down. Can you calm down? Because we really need this year.
The proof's in the pudding. The proof's in the pudding. He was charged for it, okay? You can't deny facts. Yeah. I'm spitting facts. Now I'll spit some more facts. Zach Hosking, you've nailed that one, Joel. Someone I've got a lot of time for as a player and a bit of a journeyman, and another player that wasn't given an opportunity at Newcastle when he probably should have been. But I think he kind of overachieved in that Penrith team with what was around him last year. I think it's going to be a really tough year for Canberra, which we'll get to later as well. But we're not going to see the best football out of Zach. And as you see, he's probably going to spend most of his time on the bench with Whitehead there. Obviously, Hudson Young as well. I think around that Origin time, he might get a run if more minutes and see what he can do from there. Know nothing about Sasagi. He couldn't break a lot of game time in a Newcastle team that was struggling for most of last season. So don't really see what he's going to do. Don't know the other guy from Wigan.
Season before,
was it?
Yeah.
And last year, they struggled halfway through last year. They only got good in that last 10 games. Remember?
10 in a row, baby.
Yeah, that was 10 in a row to save their season. They were done. And KO Weeks. Look, we've all heard about KO Weeks and what he can do. I believe he's better fullback. There was rumours he was obviously going to take that fullback jersey off Turbo when he first came to that. Never happened. I'll give you my prediction, not where they're going to finish. I'll give you my prediction on Canberra, and this is how Canberra's going to go. By round 10 or 11, just like obviously before that transfer window shuts, if our team, Joel, isn't smart enough to give someone else a run that they've already believed to have signed, they'll be chasing all they can to save their season and get him down there this year because they have not got enough experience in the halves. So there's a lot of pressure going to be on...
Who are you talking about for those who don't know?
Ethan Sanders from Parramatta. It's not a done deal yet. Hopefully he stays at Parramatta, but the rumour is he's signed for Canberra. They'll be chasing him halfway through the year because they need someone. They've got some good young players coming through, but they needed one more in this game, and that was a genuine 5'8" halfback because there's a lot of pressure on the Fog. Jamal Fogarty, for those who don't know who the Fog is, player that Parramatta missed out on. And he was great last year. I thought he was wonderful for him, but taking away Jack White, and I don't know how he's going to handle the pressure of being the only half. So they needed some more on that gains to make up for those big losses.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that.
I think Fogarty, every time he played, that's when Canberra looked dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a couple of games there where he wasn't playing and they had nothing in attack. But then you put Jamal Fogarty back in there and they were just so well organised and they could play some, the term heads-up footy. That's what he does. So that's what he brought to that Raiders team. I highly rate Jamal Fogarty.
Yeah.
They need an organiser because the thing is, and we can discuss it in a second, but they're going to have a lot of kids this year. There's going to be a lot, especially in the back line, there's going to be a lot of young talent that's either debuting or only 5 to 10 games into their NRL career. So they'll need that steadying hand in the halves to sort of guide not just the forward pack, but this back line around the park as well. So with that's who they have there with Fogarty. He will be able to do that, and he has a good kicking game. That's one thing that he does have. He's a massive boot and can get him into corners, etc. So that's definitely a shine. Like they just need him to stay on the field. He needs to play majority, if not all, games next year for the Raiders to be any hope of avoiding a bottom four finish. What's the finish position before we get too much more into the Raiders, boys?
I'll go through the losses.
Not the finishing, the recruitment rating.
Three of the losses before we get the thing. The biggest thing here when you look at their losses is depth. They've lost 3 halves. They've lost Frawley, Snyder, and Whiten, and brought in a player from the games, a man that we've never seen play 5'8" in the top grade. So, it's just some dumb recruitment. We haven't rated their recruitment yet, but you've almost forgot it. I'm going to rate their recruitment and give it about a 4.5 because you've got to counteract what you've lost when you bring it in. I know we can talk about rebuilding as you've got some good young kids coming through, but losing someone like Jack Whiten, I know he wants to go, the same year you've lost, someone like Jared Croker, who's played over 300 games, is this very dumb organisation by the club because you needed one of those players there to help bring these kids through, and that's where they've gone wrong. Bringing through players like Ethan Strange, who's going to be a freak. I've forgotten his name. Clydesdale that played big front rower. I can't remember his first name that played in New South Wales. He'll come into first grade this year as well. Like I said, they've got some good young players coming through, but they need some more experience to keep those players obviously shining. Rebuilding year.
Yeah.
4.5 for me.
Yep. I think it's going to be a couple of rebuilding years based on this and based on the youth that's at the Raiders. I've given them a 4 for something similar, Adam, just around they're not replacing the people that they've lost in those pivotal positions, and they need someone to lead that team around. It's going to fall on the shoulders of one bloke. I just don't know how that's going to go.
I'll go 5, but I think they get an extra half for me just because of I guess what we've been hearing about weeks for some time. I'm just hoping that we do get to see that, because if we do see that sort of player, then it's a good signing. But that's a big if. Like we've seen clubs do this in the past, sign some of these young talent, has a lot writing about him, but for some reason, why would that club let him go beforehand? So there's a little bit of murky waters there, but I'll go a 5. The positives for the Raiders, I guess we've already spoken about it. I think just their young talent, and we've seen a lot the last probably, I think it's been about 2 years now. There's been a shift in the NRL where the young guns come through for teams. They sort of show no fear, and they just show some real enthusiasm to apply their trade, whatever their position is. So I think that could be a good thing for the Raiders. They'll be able to come in and do the right thing there. What about you, boys?
They've signed Corey Holsborough to 27. I like that. Sebastian Chris, I think he was someone that had a very up and down year. I know the game that they played at Newcastle, when he had the ball, he looked really dangerous. So I think if they can try and build around him a little bit more, that could be an option for points. But yeah, I like Hudson Young until 27 and Tom Starling as well. They're 2 really good players that obviously went through the Knights system as well. So it's nice that they're locking those guys in and trying to build around them as well.
I'll touch similar. They are building for their future. I guess one of the biggest problems being a Raiders fan, I'm not a Raiders fan, but if I was a Raiders fan, is their coach isn't exactly a player who likes to build for the future. And when the going gets tough, Ricky gets going. So I guess they need to stick out this plan. And once again, it's the truth. It's the truth. He had this big rebuild plan at several clubs.
There's your soundbite for this week, Joel.
Yeah, 100%. It's you can't deny 49 minutes. They've got all these good young players coming through, which I touched on before, and they obviously are building for it if you look at some of those re-signings and what they've brought in. But he's got to stick it out, and Canberra fans need to accept that it's probably going to be a tough couple of years for him, which if we're going to that part now, say I've got him finishing 13th to 17th this year. So they need to stick with that and not be calling for his head and putting pressure on him to walk, because he will walk, and they don't need that. They need the coach to stick around and obviously build these players through, and some of these other off-contract players at the end of the year probably stick around as well, like someone like Elliot Whitehead. I know he might go home, but stick around and obviously help nurture these younger players because they've lost a lot of experience.
Yeah, no, they are losing a lot, and that is the concern, just of what they've lost and that what they've got coming through is obviously we've all seen it and heard about it. There is some quality coming through, and if they can get Sanders as well, that's another quality young player coming through. But you need to be patient. Like if I was a Raiders fan, you just really need to be patient with this group coming through and don't put too much pressure on them. Like it could be a tough year. It probably will be more than likely be a tougher year this year. I think they overachieved somewhat last year, so that sort of didn't help what was going on. And maybe probably didn't push their hand as much as they probably should have with some of these replacements. But I've got them 13th to 17th as well, Jez.
Yep, 13 to 17.
Just quickly on that Sanders one, without turning to Parramatta podcast. If I'm his manager, I know what I said earlier, but if I'm his manager, seeing the year that we think Canberra will have, I'm sitting back and saying, Ethan, stick it out at Parramatta. Don't announce anything yet. If Parramatta get a couple of injuries, hope they don't in the halves, there's a fair chance he's going to obviously let his market go up. Then going to Canberra and potentially taking some absolute hidings and having a lot of pressure put on him when he comes in the halves. So although I predicted it, if they play it smart, I don't think he will end up there throughout the year.
Managers don't care about that. They just see the dollar signs. They just
Correct.
send them off.
His dollar sign will majorly drop if he goes down this year, as opposed to building up and obviously re-signing for someone else or thinking at Parramatta the year after.
True. All right, let's get on to another team that's probably a bit more exciting. It's the West Tigers. I laugh, but there's a bit more respect starting to come on to the West Tigers name. I feel like this last couple of weeks in this off season or pre-season, wherever up to, where's it gone? It's
fixing
vanished.
It's getting to him that much. He's trying to fix it. Can't help it. Jeremy's also going to, as he's fixing it, he's going to announce these first 4 names in the games as well. Because I just looked at him. I am glad I am not doing it.
I will.
We're back to Jez.
Happily.
So, we go before.
Yeah, it was doing my head in. I can't have that S down for the next 2. That was ridiculous.
We don't need the slides to do this. I'll run through this with Joel while Jeremy's doing it. Do we know who the Tigers' 5 captains are this year?
No, I believe Benji's realised he's the best option for that, so he's named himself captain, coach, CEO, water boy, whatever else you want. There we go, guys. Look, this is what we do, League of Inches. On the run, if it's not what we like it, we will fix it. Like we've just told Adam to get closer to the mic because his sound was shit. So if we don't like it on the run, we will fix it. And our producer fixes it. So Jez, kudos to you. And as a reward, you can let us know the gains and losses for the West Tigers.
I thought you were going to let me off the hook. All right.
I just love this.
West Tigers. We've got Solomon Alamalo. I think I've nailed that one. And then Solomon Slow. Fartapi. And I believe these might be those wonderful recruitments from either Fiji or someone around there. So that might be exciting.
No, so Alamalo is from rugby sevens, I'm pretty sure. So he's actually, there's a lot of hype about him. And they reckon if Novaluma ends up leaving, he'll be a winger.
Right. Latu Fianu from the Seagulls.
If you get that one right, you can get the next one right.
Or Samuela Fianu from the Seagulls. Justin Ollerman. Justin Ollerman from the Storm. Aiden Caesar from Leeds, and Jaden Sullivan from the Dragons. So not some pretty good gains there for the West Tigers. Definitely massive snatching Justin Olam only recently. But I also like that Aiden Caesar's made his way back into the NRL. And Jaden Sullivan, I think that might be exciting for him. Whether or not he plays a lot of game time, but I think that's going to be exciting for him. The losses, you've got to move my light. Sean Blaw, what a cool last name. He's off to the Storm. Luke Brooks, finally, he's getting out of there. He's getting out of the Tigers. Now they can't blame him anymore.
He's taken his barbecue and he's headed to the Seagulls.
I wonder if he's had a cook-up for the Manly boys. Ken Highland.
No, rumour is it's still at the stadium.
Brewery. Yeah,
There's
down to
actually
4
there's
Pine
actually
Brewery.
a
It's
rumor.
right near the stadium. Take your Weber. You'll be fine.
Luke Brooks was pretty close to signing to the Dragons, but have a no barbecue policy now, and he didn't want to leave his special barbecue.
Oh,
I'm glad I stopped
honestly,
talking for that one. That was good. There's another clip. 55 minutes. Write that one down. Atasi James for the Seagulls. Dane Laurie off to the Panthers. Ken Mamalo to the Titans. Joe Offahengawi, which I love hearing the Triple M call when Joe Offahengawi was on the ball. He's off to the Eels. There you go, boys. You've picked one up finally.
He come halfway through last year. Did his calf the first game.
Oh, right. What a wonderful signing for the Parramatta Eels. Tommy Talou off to the Seagulls. Brandon Wakeham, again, to the Seagulls. So lots of swapping in between the Manly Seagulls and the West Tigers.
Can we just highlight quickly, before we get into the games, what are the Manly Seagulls thinking? What are they actually
Poaching
thinking?
from the Tigers.
If their recruitment is to take 4 players from the team who come last.
They've got to be cheap.
But 4 players who come last. Look, I want to do the loss. I think Luke Brooks would be good to see him go across there. I think he'll actually go really well with no pressure on him playing with Cherry Evans. I think it's exactly what Manly need. We're not talking about Manly, but I don't know this Atasi James. Fireworks are going off. But Brendan Wakeham, obviously a fringe first grader going to Seagulls. He's obviously going to be a backup like he was last year to Luke Brooks anyway. And then Tommy Talau, well, obviously Jess is more of a Northern Beaches girl, so had to get him away from Leichhardt and his flame with his new relationship. But some of those signings are just for the Seagulls. Back to the Tigers. Good for the Tigers to get rid of some of the dead.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of fresh air.
They've got to be cheap. That's why.
Yeah, it must be.
Some exciting
I like the Olam signing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Buller.
Buller, massive signing to 27. That's great. Coruscant to 26. Dewey only got 1 extra year. Yeah, what was that? You've got to adjust, Dewey. Remember when he was kicking the goal? That was a very funny video. Charlie Staines, 25. Stafford Toa to 26. Alex Twal to 27. So some nice re-signs there.
Haven't they just lost? I don't think he's going this year, but haven't they just lost that other winger, Junior? Tapua, whatever his name is, isn't he going to?
Yeah, he's going to Dolphins.
There you go. So that's a massive loss for him because they, as you said, obviously some of the young players that had coming through on the re-signings they've made, Buller, and if they would have kept him, it would have been pretty exciting for the Tigers fans. Well, they can't go any worse, let's be honest. But as for the gains, look, Aiden Caesar, I think he's going to be more of a backup. I believe Sullivan's a big chance there of obviously getting a start. I know someone said he might play much game time, but rumour has he's a big chance of obviously getting a start for the Tigers, which
he has to get game time. He's signed there for $650,000 a year. So
yeah,
Jaden Sullivan will be first choice in the halves. I think he'll be 5'8". Caesar will be half back to have some experience.
Big career move for him going from the 16th place team last year to the 17th, but obviously there was something not right quite there at St. George last year with the whole Ben Hunt situation as well, I believe. But
yeah,
look, Olam, it's great when he pulls off a big shot and can do some wonderful things in attack. I liked him at the start of last year. He seemed to adapt his game a little bit, brought a bit of kicking into his game and just trying to run over the top of players. But defensively, he got exposed massively in a pretty strong Melbourne Storm team. So going into a week as Tigers team,
that's why he got dropped.
Yeah, 100%.
On the Storm side.
Yeah, exactly right. And look, I know Melbourne, obviously, as we know, they do have a salary cap now. They didn't for quite a while. But Craig Bellamy doesn't let go of quality players if he really wants to keep them. And for him to drop Olam and be happy to trade him, I'd be a little bit worried about that if I was a Tigers fan.
Oh, yeah. I agree, but I also think the Tigers aren't the Melbourne Storm, and they're not anywhere near it, but they need to add some building blocks to get there. So I think this could be someone who has been around a system like the Melbourne Storm, probably had one of his off years last year, both on and off the field, and has probably gone, you know what, give me a fresh start. Here's the Tigers, and I can at least guide him to. Like, he is now an experienced player. So that's what the Tigers need. They need some help in the back line, especially at centre, and he will help that out. And I just think he's a good signing for the Tigers. The Fainu brothers look to the future once again. So I like the fact that the Tigers are looking at that, getting some young playmakers in and building around him. They won't be rushing him in any stage. I don't think either of them may be a bench spot early on, but I don't anticipate him having too much of a role in first grade this year. But yeah, what's our recruitment rating for the West Tigers? I'm actually gonna. I know there's a lot of hate normally for the West Tigers. I'm actually going to say this one's a 7. I'm going to give West Tigers a 7. It's not over the top. It's not massive names that, but I just think it's some smart recruitment, which we can't say about the Tigers for a few years now.
Yep, I'm going to go a 7 as well. But I think it's more because I'm just excited for Luke Brooks to get out of there. Like I just want him to actually
off the bus.
Seem like he can enjoy his
He's
footy.
the last one.
He is. He's the last one.
But also,
remember the big four. The big four, they're all going to leave. Yeah. Moses, Woods, Tedesco, and Brooks. And poor Brooksy, he must have got stuck in the back corner of that bus. He thought it was cool to sit in the back seat. And every time that door opened, he mustn't have made it in time because he just could not get off. Ivan said, get off the bus, and he's been trying. He couldn't do it. Even Ivan got off the bus before him.
Well, he's off now. And the re-signing of Buller to 27, I think, is huge for the Tigers. So that's why they got a 7.
I'm giving them a 5. Just the fact that similar to Canberra, what they've let go of opposed to what they've brought in. You know, you look at their starting halves. It started last year. I believe it was Brooks and Laurie. For a while there, it was Brooks and Wakeham. The fact they've let go of Brooks, Wakeham, and Laurie in the same year doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And look, obviously heads have got to roll. When your team comes 17th and you get the wooden spoon by quite a long way, and some of the hidings they copped last year obviously weren't good enough. But I would have been keeping one of those players around to try and build your halves combination. We know that obviously next year Luai is going to come in, but you probably nailed on the head. It's probably going to be Sullivan and Caesar as the halves. And they've also, not on the list, but Will Smith was there as well. He's gone as well. So
keep my wife's name out.
Different Will Smith. He's we could say he's retired, but he'll be lining up for the West Newcastle Maggots, also known as the Rosellas, in the 2024 season. So he where he's from, he's a junior, but
I've been actually seeing him around lately quite a bit.
He's probably back living in Toronto, to be honest. I think that's where he did a lot of his time. So, but he, like I said, that's their 4th choice half. So they've essentially lost their 4 first choice halves from last year. I believe Dewey will play 5'8" with Sullivan at halfback. Caesar will be a backup. I think that's where Dewey's got to be. He's got to also kick a game. If he gets back.
Dewey's not playing. Dewey won't be back for at least halfway through the year.
Is that how bad it was? I knew it was bad, but okay. Well, I'll say this. I'll say when Dewey gets back, he'll come into the halves with Sullivan, obviously paving the way. But it doesn't really matter who plays 5'8" because Luai will be in the halves year after anyway, and they won't.
And as you said, they'll have Luai playing by about round 7, won't they? So
big chance.
So Caesar only get a couple of games at the start,
and then back to Super League.
He made it out.
The positives for the West Tigers, I said it at the start of the opening for the West Tigers. I just think the fact that it feels like as a club as a whole, they're starting to make the right moves from right at the top all the way down here to the players and so forth. I feel like that needed to be a fresh start. This year needed to be the line in the sand. They've done that. They've got some of the right moves in place. I think Benji, I didn't like the whole we'll have Sheens in there for the first years and then Benji didn't really have much experience. It's either throw him into the deep end and let him swim, see if he can swim, or don't do it at all because it was not going to work. So he's in there now. He's got a chance. There's a lot of good talk around what Benji's doing at the Tigers. So hope for the Tigers' sake because, look, to be honest, I'm actually over him being at the bottom and being the laughing stock. I actually want to see the Tigers a bit more successful, win a few more games. I think the league's better for it when there's a strong West Tigers side running around. I know the likes of like Parramatta, etc. When we get to have those big games, it's a lot better when the Tigers are actually doing well. But yeah, positive for mine. Just the club as a whole feels like it's a fresh start. Some decent players coming through, some good young players coming through. Like Bull is a star. He's an out and out star of the future. And the fact that they've got him there at fullback, he's just one that they can build with. And then if he can build a combination with Coruscant next year, or if it's maybe sometime this year, Luai as well, then there's just some stepping stones working well there for the Tigers.
Yep, it's the old clean slate protocol. Start from the top, wipe everyone out, and it's only up from here.
Well, Mr. Negative, I know you like to just start at the concerns, so you can take over the concerns.
Me? Oh,
you're renowned for it now. Everyone just know. I get messages about it now weekly after people listen to it, and they go, honestly, how Adam has said this and that. No, I'm having to go. Like, Adam, I love you, and the fans are a bit split, I think. But you give us some great feedback.
But the simple fact is, it's the truth. Like, you can't shine shit, and they're going to be shit again. As much as like you said, I'd like the Tigers to go better. I like a strong Tiger because I like beating a strong Tiger. I like beating a strong Newcastle. It's you want one of your closest rivals, and like you said, we have some big games obviously against them. They seem to always turn up against us no matter what. To be honest, we don't seem to blow them out too much like we should, except for the opening of stadium. But they've been disappointing for so long. I'll give the positive. I'll say something positive for those 3 Tigers fans listening that haven't given up on their team. The youth coming through. I'm excited by Bull. I'm excited what they're bringing through. And obviously some of the signings they've made, as you said, those Fanua brothers and where these other rugby players are, they're obviously looking to the future. It probably is another rebuilding year. But if I'm a Tigers fan, I'd take a rebuilding year and accept that over a year of being cellar dwellers and getting beat by 70 points. That's as simple as that. So that's probably as positive as I can be about them. Because besides Sullivan, I don't really think their signings are that wonderful. And like I said, they've screwed up a bit with their losses.
Yeah, I think the only concern is probably their halves.
You can't shine. Love it.
Yeah, do you have any other concerns for the Tigers? I want to try and be positive with the Tigers. So I don't want to say any.
Any concerns? There's a few. One, is it true that they're only playing like one game out of Leichhardt this season? Like they're stepping away.
No, they're trying to take more. No, they're trying to get more games to suburban grounds. Like they've moved the
6 and 6.
Good.
They're moving the Parramatta one from Combank, which would normally be our home ground.
It's usually
actual. I think it's Campbelltown now. So they're actually trying to get more games but split it. I think what it is I think either Leichhardt's been used more early on or something, and they're not getting the right time frames for it, and that's what people aren't happy with. I have to double check. To be honest, I don't really read too much West Tigers news for the last few years, but I remember seeing something.
Give me a bit more positive about the Tigers, Joel, and give some information.
Yeah, I'll get better. Sorry, guys.
They have split their games. It's 6 and 6, and it kind of rotates all over the place.
They just need to play out of Leichhardt. They get a dwindle 1,000 every home game. You take that to Leichhardt, it packs it out. That's what makes rugby league.
Yes, but part of the thing with the merger, Jeremy, is the other merged team has to get something out of it, and people seem to forget it's not the Balmain Tigers. West, besides that little logo we established on thing, they get not allowed out of this besides providing a lot of money. So to have them at Campbelltown makes sense. They're taking a game to Tamworth. They're, as usual, hosting a Queensland team at Magic Round, and the other games are split evenly besides that.
Cool.
Yeah. No, well done. What about our finishing position for the Tigers? I do think they'll improve, but I still think they'll finish in that 13th to 17th bracket. So probably 13th, I'll say. Adam, I know what you're about to say. You said you can't polish a shit. So what, 17th?
Yeah, look, I think.
Stop it.
They'll be in a few more games. They actually started to show a bit of promise halfway through last year when Appy got back on the field. Then Appy got injured, and they actually started. And I thought Brooks actually started to find some pretty decent form. Obviously, when they smashed the Cowboys, here we go. They could go on a bit of a run here. I think Matt made the ridiculous. And that was the Bulldogs. He made that statement about last year. They were going to come good, but I think I even said, "Look, the Tigers are on a bit of a charge," when they went back to being the Tigers. So, 13th to 17th as well. But same as you, I think they'll show some improvement.
Yes,
13 to 17. That's where they're going to be.
Last one for the episode. The Gold Coast Titans. I'm really keen to see the Titans this year. So the Gaines, Keenan Palacia from the Broncos, who is pictured for the YouTube viewers, came over. He did his job for the Broncos. I actually thought he was quite good off the bench last year for the Broncos. So it's quite a nice signing that
Jeez,
has
he's
gone
skinny.
pretty much unnoticed. He is very skinny. He's got the Dom Young diet. So Harley Smith Shields from the Raiders, which Adam doesn't want to talk about. He's still a bit annoyed from a Parramatta point of view. I think he's trying to say there. So the losses, Aaron Booth has retired. Boothie. We'll try and get him on the podcast. He's a good bloke, Boothie. Patrick Herbert released. So don't know where he's ended up. Let's keep an eye on Herbert's career. Cruz Lemming to Wigan. Remember that? Just off top, you remember Lemmings, the game? I remember as a school kid, that used to be the best game, playing the computer, the school computer, little men.
Is that the one where you used to just send them off the cliff?
Yeah, and you had the parachutes and stuff. Bring it back. If anyone out there knows how you can play Lemmings, shoot the page a message because I'm all over that. Sam McIntyre, actually, just personally, Sam McIntyre pictured as well. I haven't given you credit for this yet. I love how you've made it black and white for the departing player for each one. It's a great touch. I love it.
They're leaving. It's like an in memoriam.
That's what you get from that. Is beautiful. Thomas McKelly, who we spoke about last year, has been at, I think it was 7 clubs in 6 years or something. He's gone to the Cowboys, and Toby Sexton was a mid-year recruit for the Bulldogs last year. The re-signing list, there's quite a few, and I know Jez loves going through this re-signing list. Tanner Boyd for till 2025, Jaden Campbell 2026, Tino Fa'asuamaleaui 2033, which is
huge.
It's just crazy, but well done for Tino's. Yeah, David Fafita 2026 and Fodawaker 2027. There's a lot. They've done a lot of work here. Brian Kelly 2026. AKP 2026 and Sam Verrills 2026. So a lot of things are happening in 2026 for the Titans. Off contract this year is Kieran Foran, which will probably be a retirement, I'd suggest. One that would be one to look out for, I think, is Thomas Weaver, who is at the moment second string halfback. I reckon that'll change quite quickly this year. I think he'll become first string by the end of the year. And if they don't move on him quickly, I think there'll be some clubs out there that will be looking for Thomas Weaver to be their 7. What do you think of the gains and losses in your ratings for the recruitment boys? Yes.
I don't know. I don't know too much about the two. Adam seems to be holding on to something about Smith Shields, which I'm really excited to learn about.
Smith Shields was very much rumored to come to Parramatta, and he's pretty explosive centre. He could have provided that X factor that we needed, but we tried to sign him at the back end of last year when we still could, and the club rejected it, which was just absolutely stupid for a club not listening to obviously what the coach wanted, and the coach had a lot of time for him, and I think Bailey Simonson also gave him a massive review, which is quite good when he probably would have actually taken his spot at the time. But the fact he's gone to the Titans is a good signing for them. I don't know what happened with him and Ricky down in Canberra, but the fact he wasn't getting game time was a bit silly. You go watch his highlights package, Jeremy, he'll be very impressed. He's got some pretty good hits out there on the YouTube. His YouTube hits that good, the Newcastle Jets would consider signing him. So those who don't get soccer references, the Jets are known for signing players on YouTube packages. Yeah, obviously, as Joel said, did the job at the Broncos. Look, I'll go through their losses while we're at it in games, because one of them I'm disappointed with is Cruz Lemming. Being a Leeds Rhinos fan, a Super League fan, Cruz is one of the best, well, he was the best hooker across there in the Super League. When he came across, I was pretty excited and just made the dumb choice to go to a club who didn't know how to use him and didn't really need him. Obviously, they had other players there as well, but he was never really given opportunity, and he lasted a year. I actually had a chat with him up at Magic Round last year. He's one of the nicest blokes as well. And now he's gone back to the Super League and not gone back to Leeds. It's absolutely shattering. But like we loaned him out here. They've got those who don't realise they've got transfer fees when they come across in the Super League. So the Gold Coast had to pay that transfer fee to Leeds, which meant he could go back to Wigan. So he pretty much come across for a holiday year. Didn't play a lot of footy. But Herbert left early in the year. Sexton left halfway through last year. Like you said, Thomas McCarley or whatever, is a bit of a journeyman now, popping around as well. So it really isn't much. Besides bringing in Harley Shields, I can't really give him too much of a rating. I'm going to give him about a 6 because, like, you look at their re-signs, they've probably done a fair bit of work there.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I've gone it was a 5.5, but it might be a 6 purely just on the re-signings. But signing Tino Fasuamala-Aui until 2033, I think, is ludicrous.
It's a Buddy Franklin
I don't know
contract.
Why. Yeah.
It's the biggest risk
I
you'll ever
understand
take.
about locking a bloke in, but that's
the Dolphins
up
effect.
there.
It's a Dolphins effect, but it's also like you look at injuries, and if something forced him into retirement, it doesn't come out of their cap because he'll get medically retired. It's if his form drops, then look, contracts mean nothing anyway these days. I guess the biggest risk they take is if his form drops, they want to get rid of him. They're stuck paying a large chunk of his contract, and Jesus, I'd hate to see what the back end deal would be on a 10-year contract.
I'll go 6.5 as well for mine. But for just on the Tino thing, the other thing that worries me, and I think we've mentioned it last year a few times, is signing forwards to these massive contracts. Because as we've seen now with Jason Tamalolo, who is the shadow of the player he was when he first signed that massive deal for the Cowboys, yes, it seems great on paper in the fans because at the moment Tino's in his prime going, yeah, beautiful, I love this signing, but who's to say in 4 years after he's been taking hit up after hit up, getting bashed at club level, origin level, and rep footy level year in, year out, he's not going to be the same player. Like, it is so hard to be a forward and play for as long. That's why the likes of Webkey, 7-7 that are looked at as the best of all time because they did it for so long. But so many forwards these days, they just can't get through the work year in, year out. So in theory, on paper, fantastic signing for the Titans. Love it. But it comes with risk because that would be on big money as well. That would be nearing $1 million, I dare say, each year. So it's dangerous territory. I personally think not having a go at Tino at all. I think he's one of the best forwards in the competition. Just with what we've seen in the past, it just comes with a lot of dangerous territory that I know the Titans, they probably needed to make those sorts of risks because they needed to make sure Tino and Fafita stay there for as long as possible. But in saying that, in terms of the recruitment side of things and the players, I actually really like the Titans this year. I like what they've got, but it's more so to do with what they've already got there and looking like they're starting to work out their team a bit more. Like we talk about the Tigers and the like earlier about sort of finding an identity. I feel like the Titans are doing that this year as well. They're starting to see how they want to play. And maybe, as Adam said, like Cruz Lemming wasn't sort of fitting into that. But maybe they now know, like they got Sam Verrills there. They know how they're going to play from dummy half. The one that I'm really interested to see is Jaden Campbell's year this year. I think he could be a really, really good player. Sorry, add another one that Parramatta apparently were looking for.
No, I don't want
some
him.
point last year.
Just hope he keeps his knees to himself.
But there is like Titans again. If you look at their backline, that is quite a good backline as well. But and Des Hasler, the interesting thing, and I guess a positive, and I feel like a concern at the same time, is Des Hasler. It's a positive because Des Hasler, we all know what he's like, but it's also for mine a slight concern because I don't know if the Titans and Des Hasler will match and the style that Des will want to play if the Titans players can adapt quick enough to make themselves competitive when they need to be. Because don't get us wrong, the Titans are in a pressure situation here with Dolphins now coming on board and looking like they're going to have quite a good year this year.
What's the members numbers at? Do we know what the Gold Coast Titans are? Because my biggest criticism of the Gold Coast is, like you said, they need to obviously build. And I'll give you my Hasler thoughts quickly. Hasler, when he went to the Bulldogs, was a shadow of the coach. He isn't Manly. I feel like his heart's always going to be at Manly. It doesn't matter where he coaches. He's never going to have that passion for it. But you're right. They need someone who's going to come in and create that culture and be entertaining. You've got some pretty flamboyant players in their back line that can throw the ball around, be exciting, like Jaden Campbell and Dave Fafita. And obviously the young one, I'm not going to say his name, is Fiona Khan Pereira. I can say his last, can't say his first name. He was brilliant when he came in last year and obviously quick and young, exciting player. They need to have a style that makes people want to watch them so they can get people from the Gold Coast and that area behind them to get some big crowds there. As you said, they are now competing. They've always competed against the Broncos. Now, if I'm a Broncos fan when the Gold Coast, living in the Gold Coast, let's say most people in the Gold Coast would have been Broncos fans when they come in the comp. I wasn't jumping ship to the Gold Coast. I was staying with Brisbane. Brisbane were obviously having good times. Yep. Now they're competing against the Dolphins as well, who would be cutting into some of the area. And we've seen what the Dolphins bandwagon's been like and the excitement around the Dolphins because they had that history and culture the Titans didn't have. My concern for them is that Hasler won't play that style of football that they need to be the entertainers. And they do need to be the entertainers if they are going to go anywhere this year.
Yep. Yes.
Yep. I'm just excited to see how long Tino's mullet will be by 2033. I think it might be down to his calves by then, so that'll be fun.
How many suspensions will be from him getting it pulled?
I understand signing and locking him in, especially because he is such a hit with the kids. He's so good off the field and what he does off the field and how he interacts with fans. So I understand that as a marketing point of view. But as a rugby league fan, I feel a little bit robbed that we might not see Tino, apart from Origin, in a different team playing with some better players. So it's a little bit greedy.
I thought you were going to zing him then and say, besides the big games Origin, we're never going to see Tino play finals football again.
Yeah, well, maybe.
What about...
I also like that Chris Brandle got re-signed because... That was a fun little swap deal that they did with the Knights, and it's nice that he got a contract to 26.
Leeds United Seagulls Junior.
Yes.
What's our finishing positions here for the Titans? I'm actually putting him in the 9th to 12th bracket. I think there's going to be some improvement.
9th to 12th. Thereabouts last year. I think that's kind of going to be their position for a while. Look, they upset us. They turned up for some games we thought they could have gone. I think they had Penrith pretty much beaten there for quite a while, one of those games, and then just gave it up. So I got them 9th to 12th as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, he's going low.
No, I'm going to go 9 to 12 as well. It's so close to being in that top 8, and it just, I don't think if they can find their style of footy that they want to play and stick to it, as you two have touched on, they will make the top 8. But there's just sometimes where you watch the Titans play and it's just like they didn't show up. So if they can get rid of those 2 to 3 howlers that they have throughout the season where they get blowout scores put against them and then they have that knock-on effect for the following rounds, they might find themselves playing finals footy.
No, mate, summarising that, you're going to be host next week. I love it. And I do agree there. I think the Titans are one of those teams this year to watch, and it's hard because I actually feel like most teams that finish in the bottom 8 or the bottom 9 from last year have improved, have made some pretty smart signings and retention decisions for this year, which makes the competition exciting, which we will get to. Don't want to get into it too much, but boys, it's been a long one. We had to choose a week where we got through the 5 teams to just get on into whack with the 4 coming up, and this is the one we chose. So I hope everyone does enjoy this episode. Again, make sure however you're listening or watching, you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and give us a rating. It goes a long way. Sorry about the producer. He did fix it on the run, so I reckon he gets extra points for that. So, and the live has started. Thank you once again, guys. And I hope you enjoy the episode and subscribe to League of Inches. Thank you.